Welcome to GDPR training series. This lesson focuses on GDPR principle data minimization. By the end of this lesson, you will understand what exactly the law requires, where organizations go wrong, and what steps you need to take to stay compliant. A very common habit in organization is collecting data broadly, assuming it may be useful later. GDPR does not permit this. Every data point must have a clear documented reason. Regulators treat excessive collection as a direct violation, and enforcement actions confirm this is actively investigated. What is data minimization? Article sets the legal standard. Data must be adequate, means enough to serve the purpose. Relevant means directly connected to it, and limited means nothing beyond what is required. Recital 39 reinforces this. These three conditions must be satisfied simultaneously, not treated as optional. Where does this principle apply? Data minimization is not limited to one department or system. It applies at every point where personal data enters your organization. Sign up forms, surveys, HR systems, analytics, CRM tools, apps, and cookies. If personal data is being collected anywhere, the minimization obligation applies there. The three-part test. Before collecting any data field, apply this test. Is the data adequate to fulfill the purpose? Is it directly relevant to that purpose? Can you achieve the same outcome with less or anonymized data? If you cannot clearly answer all three, the data should not be collected. This test is your practical compliance check. One important distinction: pseudonymization alone does not take data outside the GDPR scope. Only true anonymized data does. What does necessary actually mean? Necessary under GDPR is a strict legal standard. It excludes anything merely convenient or potentially useful. The example here is a delivery address is necessary for physical order but not for digital service. Date of birth is justified for age verification but not for newsletter form. Common violation. These are the patterns regulators identify during investigations: unused fields, mandatory inputs without justification, indefinite retention, and data copied across the system without review all the red flags. Each one signals that minimization has not been applied. Any of these practices can form the basis of regulatory finding. GDPR also requires privacy by design. Article 25 adds a proactive obligation. Minimization must be built into your system before they go live, not applied as the correction afterward. Article 25 paragraph 2 specifically requires that default setting collects only minimum necessary data. The specific measures required are proportionate to the nature and scale of your processing, but the obligation to embed minimization from the start is not optional. Your development and design team all share the compliance responsibility. How to audit your data collection. This 6-step process gives you a structured way to assess current practices. Start by mapping every data collection point, then document and justify each field. Apply 3-part test, remove what fails, and record your decisions in your record of processing activity. Article 30 makes a ROPA a legal requirement, not optional. There is a legal exemption for organizations with fewer than 250 employees, but it does not apply if your processing carries any risk, handled special category data, or is not purely occasional. In practice, most organizations will need one regardless of the size. Real world enforcement example. What happens when organizations fail this test? The CNIL fined Google 50 millions in January 2019. The violation found was a failure to meet transparency obligation under Article 12 and 13 and failure to obtain valid consent under Article 6. Consent was found to be insufficiently informed, non-specific, and ambiguous. The case confirms that inadequate data governs unclear processing purposes and invalid consent carry severe regulatory consequences. What you must remember: data minimization is a binding legal obligation under Article 5, paragraph 1c. The 3-part test, adequate, relevant, and limited, must be applied consistently. Privacy by design under Article 25 means building this in from the start. Regular audits and up-to-date record of processing are essential. You can book a free consultation if you have more questions about GDPR or data privacy.